Welcome back to MurrayMax. We got another Charlie Kirk video here. This one, the context of it is that a college girl is going to prove how morally lost people have become. So this might be interesting. As usual, I haven't seen it yet. We're going to watch it together, and feel free to post in the comments what you think of this video. Here we go.
I don't believe that we could use Christianity as a good moral basis for certain laws, considering that historically speaking, Christianity has committed many atrocities. I mean, the Christian Crusades killed many people, and they destroyed a lot of our written texts that didn't agree with Christian points, like, for example, the works of Sappho.
The works of what?
Sappho.
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, anyways, I understand that this is Catholicism, but also the schools in Canada that abused many Native American people. I just don't see how we could argue that Christianity is the great moral authority that you're saying it is for making these laws when arguably they've done a lot of horrible things.
What moral code do you live by?
I'm a Buddhist, so I mean...
So it's all about yourself?
No, it's just about being...
This chick is not a Buddhist. I'd bet money on it that she's not a Buddhist, and she probably can't even tell you anything about Buddhism.
Well, I guess you could say that. But
I know Buddhism. So let's play it out. What is the top accomplishment of a Buddhist?
I guess just to be a good person and...
No, to reach nirvana, you know that.
Well, yes, but not everyone can reach nirvana.
I know, but you want to try to
possible.
ascend, right? And so it's all about yourself, all inward looking, right? To try to limit your touch with the outside world, that the outside world is dirty and it's kind of polluted.
I don't believe... as a Buddhist, that's not how I was taught, and I don't think it's fair for you to argue for Buddhism in that...
I don't think it's fair for you to argue for Buddhism because you're not a Buddhist. So anyways, let me get back to me telling you, Charlie Kirk, about my arguments for Christianity, even though I'm not a Christian. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's what Buddhism...
Not a Buddhist.
No, I know plenty about Buddhism. So Buddhism, as it's written, is that the world is contaminated. We must remove ourselves from the world, and we're going to spiritually ascend ourselves by meditation.
But there's people who don't believe in that.
Well, then you don't believe in Buddhism. That's fine. It's okay.
Of Buddhism, and they believe in all different kinds of things.
Sure,
just
that's
as
fine.
There's different sects
So
of
can you-
Christianity. I'm just not in that sect.
Got it. So can you... What moral way do you think society should live by? Not Christianity, so what way should we live by?
I think that it's not as much about morality as much as societal, and it's just societal needs. Like, for example, like abortion, we can't argue that, Christianity is the reason that we should not allow abortions when clearly there's both a medical and a societal need for abortion.
Yeah, but most pro-lifers, and of course there's exceptions, but most pro-lifers don't say abortion is bad. Well, why is it bad? Because the Bible or because Jesus. No, they say it's bad because I believe that's a human life. And there's even people out there that are atheists who believe that that's a human life. So the main argument for being pro-life versus pro-choice is not religious based. There are people who have religion and they believe that murder is a sin, but they just happen to also believe that abortion is murder, and so therefore it's a sin. But even if you're not religious, you still believe that murder is bad.
There's not a medical reason to kill babies, right? That doesn't exist.
Okay, well, I have one example for that. My mother had vasoprevia, and they had offered her an abortion because birthing the baby would not only kill her, and like if she went into labor, because the placenta had split into many little veins and covered her birth canal, if she ever went into labor, and my little brother at the time, if he had pushed on the birth canal to exit her, she would have died, both.
So do a C-section.
And her son would have died.
Did your brother survive or no?
I want to continue with this point. So
That means yes. That means the mom and the brother survived. Otherwise, she would have said, no, she died, and how dare you?
offered the opportunity for an abortion because not only was she the main breadwinner of her family, but she is also raising 2 kids as well already. The right to an abortion is possibly could have saved her life. She did end up surviving, but I don't think that...
If my mother would have given birth, she would have died. She gave birth, and she ended up surviving. So now I tell everybody that had she given birth, she would have died. And I'm here today to tell you that I wish my brother had been aborted. Like, what are you talking about?
We should limit the ability to get an abortion to other women in her situation.
Wait, hold on, time out. So your brother you know now?
Huh?
Is your brother survive or no?
Yes, he did.
Wait, so aren't you glad your brother wasn't aborted? I mean, come on.
I don't...
What kind of argument is that? Aren't you glad your brother's not dead?
It's not that... I'm glad that he wasn't aborted.
Yes, so we're pro-life. That's what we want. We don't want your brother to be aborted. Imagine how many millions other like him are aborted.
Yes, but if my mom died...
She didn't. It's not even a good argument.
Well, there's so many people that did.
No, that's not correct. I said that earlier. It only happens a couple dozen times a year, and the baby could be delivered by C-section.
People with vasa previa have a much higher rate of death than other women who are pregnant.
Yes, this happens maybe a couple hundred times a year, and there's 1.5 million abortions every single year. This is on the extreme of the extreme.
If we have to take away abortions, then we're taking away from everybody, even the people who have a medical need for abortion, where the baby is going to kill them if they come out.
Again, I can grant you that, fine, we'll have those exceptions. Can we make abortion illegal for the...
She's going to say no. They always say no.
Circumstances.
No, because
so maybe it's not about those circumstances.
They always say no.
It is about those circumstances, because when we take away those rights from everyone and we go into a hospital and there's an emergency need to remove a baby, then we have to prove that there's an actual emergency need instead of just it being an automatic right. Then doctors aren't going to be willing to...
You don't have a right to murder another human being.
It's not necessarily a right. It's just the ability to be...
So when your brother was in your mom's womb, was your brother a human being?
I mean, I don't want to argue that. I think that we could argue.
Of course you
don't. It's a question.
Prove your argument.
When your brother was in...
useful.
When your brother was in the womb, was it a human being?
I believe that...
When people do this kind of stuff, in their mind, they think, okay, I can't let him get me. But the perception of everybody else is going to be, wow, you're pretty dumb. You are not prepared for this. You don't know what you're talking about. You're a walking contradiction. Nothing you're saying makes sense. You Buddhist that doesn't know about Buddhism, whose mom would have died if she gave birth, but gave birth and didn't die. And, all these different things. It's just, she doesn't know what she's talking about. This poor girl needs to just kind of probably get away from university and just kind of educate herself on real life things.
On my moral compass, I believe that he was, but I don't think that my moral compass should dictate the medical needs and the societal needs of others.
Fine. What moral compass should we use to write laws then?
Not necessarily a single one. I think that everyone's moral compass is different, and that we should be able to...
Which one should say... For example,
the one that supports women the most, the one that allows women to get medical...
Why is that good? I mean, by what book do you reference? By some moral standard you're appealing to, what is it?
Sorry, what?
No, yeah, by what moral standard do you say that we should have health care for women? What? At some point, you're basing this on something. What is it?
I think that it's not even a moral standard. It's in the Constitution. Oh. Women should have equal rights, and that includes the right to
You do not have a right to murder another, because life is the first right. We've been through that. But I'm saying, at some point, you say you don't want Christianity to have the moral source. So I ask you, by what moral code should we live by?
Well, I don't think there's a defining moral code that we should live by.
Of course there is. Should we help the sick?
Well, yes,
should we help the poor?
Okay, but my
should
moral code as
hungry?
A Buddhist is that I should never kill an animal. And many Christians hunt. Many people, kill animals for a living. That's how they make...
Okay, yeah, sure. Many Christians hunt. You know who else hunts? Literally everybody else, except for people who don't hunt. There's people of all religions who hunt for the most part. There's obviously exceptions of religions that that are excluded from that. But I mean, it's like to pretend like people of the Muslim faith don't hunt, or the people of the Jewish faith don't hunt, people of the Christian faith. It's like singling out Christians for doing things that everybody else does is so played out. It's so played out. Like to try to make it sound like, well, Christians do this. You know who else hunts? Atheists. Like, what are you talking about?
Your personal society has to make decisions, right?
Yeah, and when society makes decisions, they should account for the fact that everyone has a different moral compass. If we're a society that, first of all, a modern society, we shouldn't be basing our moral compass off of a book made thousands of years ago.
Well, first of all, Buddhism's very old too, but contradicting.
No, I agree. Yeah, that's why I don't think Buddhism. I don't think we should ban people going out to hunt because I don't believe in killing animals.
At some point, we have to decide what laws to make. We have to say something.
And I think the laws should be dependent on
what?
How we can most benefit the people already existing in our society.
Well, but don't people in the womb exist?
That's you could argue that for so long. I don't think it's really useful when we're talking about.
The reason you can argue it for so long is because it has a basis to be justified. It has a basis for a good argument.
Are you glad you weren't aborted? Are you glad you weren't aborted?
I'm not. I mean, if it was something that if aborting me would have benefited my mother.
The brainwashing is so real that it's like, I can understand when some people make a valid argument for anything, but when somebody is just ideologically blinded by logic and common sense, you see this especially in like the younger adult ages on university campuses and things, that people will literally argue for their own demise. They'll argue for their own non-existence just so that they can cling to this ideological point. No one's going to ever be embarrassed that they argued that they have a right to be alive, but you should be embarrassed that you probably should have maybe been not allowed to even live because it could have helped somebody. It's so silly. These weird mental gymnastics that people go through. It's like my mom would have been safer if my brother had been aborted. I wouldn't want to watch my sister be saying that about me. That's crazy.
More than having me would have, then I wouldn't be necessarily angry about it. It's not.
See, I'm glad your mom did not abort you because I think life is beautiful. And I want to give that gift to as many people as possible.
Yeah, but you're also, in the same turn, taking that gift away from women. If a woman has a medical need and her life is in danger,
I've already granted. Let's say
baby.
Abortion is legal for medical circumstances. 1.4 million.
But then when we get rid of abortion for those exceptions, right, we need to think about how it is applied in the actual.
Abortion is the number one form of birth control in the country right now. Over 1.4 million abortions every single year for non-rape, non-incest, non-life of the mother.
It's really the number one form of birth control in this country.
Well, that we know
I highly doubt
actually,
that.
if you think about it, if you think about the day after pill.
That's crazy.
Right? If you think about the day after pill.
People are spending $50 for a abortion instead of the pull-out method, getting a condom. You really think?
She's making his argument for him by saying, what are you talking about, Charlie Kirk? It's so easy to prevent pregnancy. It's so easy to not have a baby if you don't want one. It's so cheap and it's so available. Abortion's not the only method of birth control. That's been Charlie Kirk's argument since I've ever heard him first start speaking about abortion. He said, there's everything from the extreme end of it, of abstinence, all the way to condoms and, birth control and things like that. You don't have to just kind of like recklessly and irresponsibly get pregnant and then go, well, I guess I better get an abortion because I didn't want to do anything to prevent this from happening in the first place. And yeah, people will say, oh yeah, well, not all of them are 100% effective and this and that. Let's get real. People aren't accidentally getting pregnant because they've tried all of these other contraceptives and they just didn't work. It's people are going out and they're doing whatever they're doing and they're not being careful, and then they're engaging in an activity that can result in pregnancy. And then they act shocked and blindsided when the thing that they're doing that can end in the result they got ends up happening.
Your twisted worldview, you really think the number one form of birth control is abortion?
Plan B.
I'm sorry, that's crazy.
No, Plan B. Right? Abortifacients, at-home abortions, chemical abortions, surgical abortions, all of those can be defined as abortifacients. Yes, you might be right. Okay, you might say condoms are more than that. But abortion has become a form of birth control. Can you agree with that?
I mean, anything that... Well, all of it, obviously, anything can be considered birth control. I mean, me deciding to not have...
A ham sandwich cannot be considered birth control. Just kidding, I know what she means.
This is birth control. I mean,
and that's what more people should do.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know, because I don't think that that's necessarily something that we can police. Like, what, you're going to go into people's bedrooms?
I'm not policing, but I'm saying, though, if you're going to decide to have sex, don't kill the baby after you have sex. Pretty simple. Because you made a decision to get pregnant.
I don't think that that's necessarily a good argument. I mean, there's more nuance to that.
There's no nuance to it. A human life exists. I can't murder someone in the crowd. Why? Because murder is wrong. You can't murder someone in a womb. Why? Because murder is wrong.
Kind of ironic for her to be talking about thinking that someone doesn't have a good argument. I mean, her entire time up here was just terrible arguments, one after another after another. So, anyways, let me know in the comments what you think of this video. This chick, from the very, very get-go, she got off on the wrong foot by just not even making sense. There's this weird trend that's happening, and it's kind of happened for a while, but I feel like it's more common now, where people want to identify as things that on the surface they don't know much about. But like, you know, if Buddhists are seen to be peaceful and they admire nature and things like that, and they want to preserve the earth, or at least not tamper with it, then people without even knowing their beliefs would be like, well, I'm actually more of a Buddhist, so... And it's like, no, you're not. You don't study it. You didn't even know about, the goals of Buddhism. And let's stop pretending like anything about your daily routine is a Buddhist routine. You're just saying that. It's like one of those self-diagnosed people who claims that they're autistic, but really they're just kind of like trying to make excuses for their behavior. So this debate was a fun one. It was interesting to listen to, and kind of a laydown for Charlie Kirk here. But maybe she will look back on this when she's older, and she will at least use it as an opportunity to say, okay, I need to actually be more clear and precise in my thinking, and I need to be able to articulate my thoughts in a manner that's going to translate, because this ain't it. But anyways, leave a comment, put a like up there, tell me what you think of this video. I'm going to keep pumping them out. Have a good day.